let's take a look at the new religions systems.
Right. Yeah.
So I already picked the Netherlands because of this. I thought it was a prudent decision. The Netherlands have changed something in the reform system. What has changed here?
Yeah, exactly. We decided to do something more. I mean, we already have mechanics for the Catholics and the Muslims, and we wanted to add a little something to more religions. So we did. I mean, this is a trading expansion, so we figured we add something to the Reformed religion. So what we did there is that we added something called fervor. We settled on that name eventually.
Yeah, it was called the heresy system, I think.
No,
no,
we were on to Führer.
Okay. No, and then I told you can't call it Führer because it will be associated with the German word for leader. Oh my God, there's so many stuff going on all of a sudden. Hold on, I get like a million pop-ups here. Fervor system, I think we talked about fanaticism system.
Yeah, but for me, fanaticism felt like a bad description for Dutch and Swiss people.
Yes, exactly. So,
but I mean, the fervor system is basically that you can, because I mean, you can direct the religious dedication of your nation towards different areas and get bonuses, and sort of like you get fervor points each month, and you can get bonuses to it somewhere. If you check that, check the monthly change. Yeah, you get like, if you have more prestige in religious unity, you get more each month, and then you can activate this one or more of these powers up here, and they're gonna cost you 5 points of fervor each month.
Right.
So what you basically do is either you manage to get more than 5, which you can barely do if you get all the bonuses, or you collect lots of fervor points
into like a pool, so you use it when you need it.
When you, for example, when you want to go to war,
we've got enough points, so we can actually use it now. So,
so you see there, where you can actually go for trade, war, stability, and stability is like you used it to get bolt risks down, and which is going to be much more useful because we actually boosted the rebels. So,
well, you boosted them and then you nerfed them again because they were they were a little bit overpowered at one point.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, the goal is actually to make it more interesting. The goal is to sort of like, you want to use harsh treatment to keep them down, and once you get the peasant war, you should sort of feel the knot in your stomach. But then you can, if you can use fervor points actually to mitigate that a little bit.
Right, because you have the stability modifier. Yeah. And then there's the war modifier.
Yeah, exactly. More morale of armies, morale of navies, very useful at war. And then you have the trade one. Which
which increases your global trade power by 10% and your trade steering by 10%. That's actually really good.
It is.
So let's say in this case,
but it also it gives the Netherlands something back after we nurture their fleet.
Yeah, because then for those that aren't entirely aware, if we quick look at the Dutch ideas here, where are they? Oh, here they are, of course. Yeah, the Dutch traditions, the shipbuilding modifier has been changed. No, that's a shipbuilding time. Which one was it again?
I think it was one of the
points.
Which was it? I think it's the 50% one there, actually. It was something different before.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right, because it was the naval force limit modifier plus 50%. It was a heavy ship modifier that I'm quite sure it was. Anyway, the Dutch can no longer build giant fleets, as we saw in the multiplayer game, where Karsten decided to build 700 heavy ships, and kind of dominated everything on sea, which was kind of awkward.
You can still build quite a lot of ships, though, because especially towards the end game, when you get this huge empire, you're gonna get a lot of money, especially if you trade.
Right. So is the fervor system kind of inspired by the Ming faction system?
A little bit.
Right.
In the sense that you sort of redirect your country in different directions and make it go that way. So, I mean, it's not factions in the sense that it will give you problems with certain areas.
Right. It's a pure bonus.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, looking at Reformed, will we see Protestant getting another system as well? Are we going to see more fleshing out of religious systems in the future? Because right now we've done stuff with Hindu and we've done stuff with Reform.
It's something we're thinking about. We haven't really, I can't really
no, of course, but
ideas
it's something we're actively thinking
exactly.
About. Right.
I mean, we've done stuff for the Hindus, for the Muslims, for the and stuff. So you can sort of like count away from there and see that we're probably
going as well.
Eventually, we will. Yeah, we actually added Sikhs.
Yeah, you added Sikhs.
Yeah. We will eventually get there.
Let's go and take a look at the Hindus.
Yeah.
What is the tag to move to Bengal? Is Bengal they're Hindus. So what is the tag for Bengal?
Try BN. Oh no, you have an underscore there that you shouldn't have.
Type it in for me.
What?
Type it in for me. Because it's faster. It's faster than actually. There we go. No, that's Benin, and they are.
Oh, then we try. No, they're in Africa. Try this then. B and G.
There we go. So now we're the Bengals, and basically, considering they are Hindus,
exactly,
it changes things up a little bit. No, they're Muslims.
Yeah, exactly. Since we picked such a late date, there's lots of Muslims.
No, because I was obviously looking at the province religion rather than Gurjat is one though. So we
try Gar.
Gar, yeah. Nope.
GRJ.
Yeah. Now we go. Okay, so now we're Gurjat, and if we move over, we just click to pause the game. We have the option to select a deity.
Exactly, and what we basically did here was that we actually removed the old religious bonus, and instead you pick a personal deity for your monarch. So if you press select there, here you have like Shiva, we have
Ganesha, Surya, Ganga, Shakti, and Vishnu.
Yeah, exactly. And we actually have a whole bunch of custom-made events for each of these deities. So actually, depending on which one you pick.
Yeah, there's a new scripter on the team that was basically banging out new events for this particular religion for like 2-3 weeks, I think.
Yeah, well, maybe not that long, but he's fast. So. Yeah, we have lots of interesting flavor stuff. So it's gonna be, I mean, in conjunction with the trading companies, it's gonna make playing in India much more interesting. No matter if you start there or come there via ship.
Why not Kali though?
We have somebody. It's called. No, I'm too bad at.
My India, my Hindu religion is a bit.
One of these.
Vishnu is the destroyer of destroyer of worlds, I think.
Shakti, power, dynamic energy.
Sacred river, the Ganges, the god of knowledge and beginnings.
There was something with Kali. Why? I'm probably the wrong person.
I like how this one is called the Lord of the Dance. It's
yes.
I thought that was Michael Flatley.
Yes, probably not.
But anyway, all of these deities, they give you particular bonuses, but do they give you malices as well?
Well, the events can have small, but they're supposed to be a bonus since they replace the religious bonus.
Right.
So it's not like you pick a god because you want to boost an area, but it's not going to come back and bite you. Basically.
So Ganesha, for instance, gives you diplomatic reputation and better relationship over time.
And you can actually, when you pick this god, actually, you can't change it again until the king dies. So it's basically the king's picked deity. And then there are some events which you actually, when you pick stuff and how you manage the gods, that can actually switch over, but that's fairly rare.
Is this a transition system from CK2's patron deity that was introduced in Rajas of India?
No,
because it seems to be a very similar system.
I think there might be some leakage of ideas, but it's not the straight. We didn't actually look at that system and move it over.
He's like, this is awesome. We need to shoot. But no, it's.
I think there was some sort of we overhearing each other discussing. It was like Hindu gods. That sounds really cool. But I mean, it's gonna be interesting when people play this because I mean we put in a lot of new Hindu events and we put in lots of new event pictures that the guys have been. Paying out here, so it's gonna feel a bit different when you play the
again. If I have to pick any system in Wealth of Nations that DDR Jake's gonna exploit the hell out of, it's gonna be this one, because mainly because all the modifiers. You have several gods, and they all have several bonuses. There are some very interesting choices there. So I would not be surprised that we're gonna see Hindu world domination somewhere in the near future.
I think that the biggest thing there is that it has to be a bit long term because you don't know when your king is going to die. So you're basically gonna have to, if you want to exploit it, you need to be in a very long term plan there because you could be stuck with the same god for 50 years,
right,
or 2 years.
Oh yeah, exactly. So whatever decision you make, if you want to expand, then obviously you're going.
But I mean that's why we That's why we have the forums, so people can tell us about their exploits.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's why we have the multiplayer game, so we can also
exploit them ourselves.
Exactly.
Exactly. Does this mean that we're going to see something for Buddhism, perhaps a Buddhism system?
Well, maybe.
Maybe. Okay.
We have also added new religions, actually.
Yeah, you did. Which ones did you add, Thomas?
We added
Sikhism.
Yes, we added Sikhism.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. No, it was one more.
There were a couple. I think you can get Zoroastrianism now as well if you export from EU4.
Yeah, but
from
you can
CK2.
always exactly the CK2 exporter has added.
But it doesn't have any functionality. I think.
But we did add Sikhism anyway.
Also, the names of some of the religions have changed. It was Amneism before, and it's now Amnetist. So there's a Animist even.
Animist.
Sorry. And Shia was Shiites before, and it's now called Shia.
There's actually an interesting event series with that when Sikhism, because Sikhism is some sort of fusion between Muslims and Hindus.
Right.
So when you are a nation that borders if you say you're a Muslim nation that borders a Hindu nation, you can get this kind of event where Sikhism pops up and starts spreading in the border areas and this kind of stuff.
So it's kind of like a reformation sort of concept.
Fairly similar.
Very cool. This is one that I've been waiting for, and I'm sure a lot of people have been waiting for as well. Let's tag back into Netherlands. Let's talk a little bit about a system that a lot of people have been questions about. Let's talk about the new rival system.
Right, yeah, because the rival system was in its original inception, it was sort of like, it was supposed to be
basic, I think.
Yeah.
Very basic.
Yeah, it was very basic, but the idea was that we should help both the player and the AI to get some sort of direction of like the power play and the alliances and this kind of stuff. So you basically explicitly name who your rivals are. And then both other players and the AI should be able to see that, okay, Holland set France as the rival, I'm Britain. So if I also set France as a rival, that means that me and Holland can be friends.
Right. But the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, exactly. But we felt that the system was a bit underpowered and didn't really do what we wanted. And we also wanted a way to sort of motivate players to break up these kind of huge power blocks that you kind of get sometimes that, I mean, in reality, you have like the huge countries around you would be your competitors. Right. Because, I mean, if one country grows too strong, it's going to come back and kill you later, because that's how the world works.
For those people that play Victoria 2, you'd be very much familiar with the system. It's like a great power system.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. It's very similar. So what we did now with rivals was that we actually added a calculation to say that the bigger country you are, the more rivals you can have and should have. And then once you pick a rival, we have a new value called power projection.
Which you can find up here. It's,
exactly.
It used to be... I like how the logo has changed. It used to be a dove, but now it's a sword.
Exactly.
It is power projection. Due to the following factors, you don't have enough rivals. You have minus 19 power projection, and this
because basically Holland is big enough so it should have a number of rivals.
Right. So let's pick a rival.
Yeah.
And we can do that here, just like we would do it normally.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Let's pick a rival.
But you stay here for a moment before you pick. The first thing you notice here that's changed is that you can't actually pick all the countries. Basically, you get a calculation that says that these countries are actually your potential rivals.
So what is that based on? Like trade or manpower?
Yeah, it's based on your similar strength in trade and in manpower and this kind of stuff. But it's also situational. I mean, the bigger you are, the longer range we will go looking.
Right.
And also, suppose you're landlocked and fairly medium-sized. We're not going to give you trade naval powers.
Right.
So basically... not in this game, but suppose you're Austria and you're fairly landlocked. You're not going to get Portugal as your main rival.
No,
even though Portugal is really rich, but I mean you're an army nation.
Yeah, so you get in this case, for instance, Austria will get the Commonwealth and Russia as
exactly.
as a rival.
I mean, they would be high up on the list anyway. But the Netherlands, for example, they can pick Portugal because I mean, even though they're much stronger than Portugal, Portugal is a strong trading threat to them. And this list is actually the same list that when the AI calculates who it's going to attack, it's actually using the same list, so you're going to get some sort of synergy there.
So there's no AI cheating there.
No, exactly. And I mean, one point of the system is to sort of like make both the human player and the AI play closer to on the same playing field, because you're making the player's considerations explicit to the AI, basically.
Overall, though, let's say I let's take a look here at the HRE. I have Munster here. They've got 3 territories. I'm the Netherlands. They're right over the border. I'm going to go and confirm them as my rival.
Yeah.
Basically, what happens now is more likely to get an alliance with their enemies. 25 prestige of defeating them in battle. No trade efficiency penalty when
and
embargoing.
that's the way it used to be.
20% spy offense against them. 33% diplomatic power costs for demanding provinces.
These things you mentioned now, these were actually in the old rival system as well.
Okay.
And the big change now is basically the power projection. Is that when you do aggressive things against them, you're going to gain power projection. When they manage to do bad things against you, you're going to lose power projection. And power projection, the higher you get, the more bonuses you get.
Right.
So if you go ahead and declare war on Munster.
Hold on, I need to pick another rival first.
Right.
I think Sweden would be a good one.
Yeah.
And the Palatinate, because they're weak.
Oh, yes.
And
I mean, as the game progresses, if you get strong, now the Netherlands isn't that big, but I mean, as you get bigger, you're not going to be able to pick the Palatinate anymore.
If you're Karsten, then you and you
yeah, and you will notice that if you conquer, for example, Munster, the Palatinate will probably drop out of your rival list. You know, now you're playing in the different league, basically.
Right. So I'm quickly going to get myself a leader here.
But if you declare war, now if you get power projection from declaring war. You haven't done that yet. Just do it. You don't need a CB.
I know.
Now, see, look there. You got 15 power projection because one of the things, and you can see exactly why, because you declared war on Munster. If you take provinces, you're gonna get more, and you can see the bonuses there. You get.
Oh God, Austria has joined the war.
Yes, I didn't. You don't actually have to fight the war.
This is bad.
Yes, if you were actually playing, you
wouldn't do that. No. Can you see what other? Let's say you have Great Britain. You want to ally Great Britain as the Netherlands. Can you see who their potential rivals are?
Yeah, and so you can do that before as well. So if you click their diplomacy screen. Here we go. You can see the rivals down there.
So Spain,
the Mughals,
Mughals and Austria.
And you can also see their enemies, and that basically means that nation that picked them as rivals.
Okay.
So I mean, if you want to rival Britain, you want to look at getting closer to the enemies there.
Right, or the other way around. If I want to ally Britain, I need to go and rival Spain and Austria.
And I mean, if you hover over the power projection now, you see that here that you're gonna the more power projection you get more trade power. You get more morale of armies, morale of navies, and fort defense. But the really great thing is if you get really high power projection, if you're over 50, you're going to get +1 of each monarch power each month.
That's a pretty big deal.
That's a pretty big deal. And that actually motivates you. Say that, you're France and Austria, and you basically like, we divide Europe between us.
Right.
But then once you start to gobble up the small guys, you're going to find that, there are only 2 rivals left here soon. And sooner or later, you will have to pick France, or you will have to give up on those juicy bonuses. Then you can choose to do that if that's the way you want to play. But especially in multiplayer, but also in single player, you're going to be sitting there looking at the Austrian. Yeah, he's my friend, but
I could also,
now I have 45 power projection. I need those 50, and sooner or later, the other guy is the only guy you can go after for them. So you're going to get this kind of, people start looking at each other.